Here we go. So we're on screen
All
record. So
right, Roddy.
hey hey.
All right, the master dog trainer in action.
Oh, is
So
that you? That's
that's
you.
how you know Roddy's good. I have to go.
You're the master
That's how,
dog
that's how
trainer.
you know Roddy's good. I gotta go. I gotta call him all the way from Scotland to get some help.
Oh, my friend.
America's going downhill. I'm gonna get.
No,
I'm gonna get a tariff to now 25% for all dog training imports from
America,
Scotland.
America's definitely just got a lot better since new presidential election. Put it that way. So we're very jealous. Very jealous over here. But so yeah, so you are out. We've just had a
Right.
good chat as friends and about things that you're doing with your business, and it's exciting. And mate, you're doing amazing. You're doing so well. It's
Thank
still. I
you.
still find it so funny that you not funny, but like that you contact me for advice when you're doing so well yourself. You know.
Yeah. Well, I haven't trained two ex-fighting dogs to not attack dogs and attack and take down a serial killer and
That's
follow my kids to the playground and protect them from creepos. So
that's true. That's true. It's been a lot more
uh,
than two
uh,
dogs, but that's okay. But especially Rex and Junior. It's a shame you never got to meet them. It's a shame you never got to.
yeah,
They were
I
definitely
know,
once in a lifetime
I know.
experience, you know.
Wow.
But you've got a dog now.
So
You've
one of
got a
the things
dog.
that I do, I got the little Frenchie,
I've,
Gingy. He's so
yeah, we've
fun.
got two. We've got two
He's
Frenchies.
amazing.
We've got Lilo and Stitch are our two Frenchies.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So
They're
sorry. Yeah.
awesome.
Give me your question. What's your question?
So one of my questions is, what does your first in-home lesson look like? So for me, with the training in the home, this is kind of my blanket statement for my first session for clients. So what I tell my clients is, I say, first things first, only use the dog's daily food for training. No free food in the bowl. Make them earn their food. And then I also tell them we want to play tug of war and fetch as much as we can with the dogs, especially if they're nervous dogs, just
Yeah.
to give them, an outlet, get them to play, get them to have fun. In the house, only give them food when they're laying down on their dog bed. And I recommend using a raised dog bed.
Yep. Dog call.
And if you're not training them, mhm, and then if you're not training them, either have the dog tied up to you or tied up to something.
Okay.
And then only pet the dog in the house when it's laying down.
Okay.
And that's kind of like what I tell them as like my first approach. And then what I tell people is when people come over the house, have the dog either in the crate or on the tie out for the first 15 to 20 minutes. Just so that way the dog just can relax and you're not having to, think about your dog like right away when people come over, just because, you have people over, they're coming in with high energy, they're having fun. And the last thing you want to do is have to like have your dog on the leash or correct your dog or have to think about your dog's behavior like right away.
Yeah.
So I tell people to tie the dog out to something or put it in the crate for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then after the dog's calm, if it's in the crate, put it on the tie out for like another, 10 minutes or so. And then eventually you just undo the tie out and just walk away since the dog's not in the command.
Yeah.
And then the dog can kind of come up and approach. And then if the dog does anything you don't like, a couple of options you can do if the dog's jumping, nipping, anything annoying. You can use a device called a pet corrector or behavioral coach spray and say no and spray the dog anywhere that's not the face.
Right.
And then tell the dog to go back to place and lay down. And then after the dog's calm on the bed, tell him free and let him make another choice again.
Mm-hmm.
If the spray's not working, then you can use a bonker. You can say no and bonk the dog with the rolled up towel.
Yeah.
And then if you don't want to do that, you can also keep them on a leash and use the leash and yank the leash. Or you can use an ultrasonic sound device, and you can do that too. But basically, rule of thumb is only feed the dog. Only feed the dog on the raised dog bed when it's laying down. Only feed the dog. Only pet the dog when it's laying down. And when people come over and play with tug and fetch with it as much as you can. And put the dog in the crate or on the tile for the first 15, 20 minutes when people come over. And if you want to, when the dog's on the tie out, you can even get the dog's food, hydrate it, put it into a Kong and
Yep.
freeze it, and then give it to them like that on the tie out for when people come over. And
Okay.
then if the dog does anything that you don't like, no, spray and correct. If your dog is having like issues with people and is very nervous with people, have a meet outside and say get it and throw a bunch of food on the ground away from the person. And just anytime the dog looks nervous or looks at you, say get it and throw more food on the ground away from the person. And after the dog seems relaxed, then you can go into the house and do the tie out.
Okay. So
But
you would
that's
do all
kind of
that in
my
a quick
initial
session?
approach.
Yeah, or just I guess it depends on
What
the
was
issue
that?
of the dog, right? It depends on the issue of the dog. But so for me, one of the things, the first thing that I emphasize to people is my goal to come to their home is to not make me have this amazing relationship with their dog. My goal is that they better their
Yeah.
relationship with their dog. And
Yes.
we know that kind of falls into two categories: trust and respect. And we know that
Yes.
equals loyalty and love. So
Mm.
99% of people that you're going to have dogs that trust them, but they have dogs that
Yes.
respect them. And because of that, you
Yeah.
have humans who don't trust their dogs. So
Mm.
the so the way you build trust is through affection. The way you build respect is through rules and boundaries. And people are generally not asking you to come to their home to say, how do I get more of this or this or this? No, people are generally, and I'm generalizing, but people generally are calling you to say, how do I stop X, Y, and Z? So that's where you then get mislabeled as being, this aversive trainer, or because we correct behavior, then we're aversive trainers. But at the same time, we are there to bridge the gap of what's missing in their relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
I emphasize whatever I do with the dog is always going to be three things. It's going to be fair to the dog and the human. It's going to make sense to the dog and the human, and it's going to be safe. So most people, they are very fair to their dog and they're not very fair to themselves. So they're living a life of misery, they're living a life of management and avoidance, they're getting bitten by their dog, they're feeling stressed and anxious and blah blah blah. And all they're thinking is, well, I offered him this treat or I offered him this toy and I offered him, so the dog's having, in a way, a great life and the human is not being fair to themselves. So if anything's not being fair, it's generally towards the human. Number two is people are generally are quite safe. If their dog is any sort of bite risk or anything like that, the dog generally is put away, or it's got a muzzle, or it's got a leash on, or something like that in general, or behind some sort of gate or something. People do try and be safe. But the biggest thing is people don't know how to communicate in a way that makes sense to the dog. It has to make sense to the dog. So uh, regardless of the issue, really, my mindset when I go into a home is I sit with them and I say, okay, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want out of this? What do you? Because really, I'm there and I could say, well, I want to be able to get this dog off leash, and I want to be able to do this, and they might be able to say, well, I just want people to be able to come into my home without my dog eating them. And yes, everything's intertwined. Has the dog had a good walk? Does it get exercise enough? The whole adage of exercise, discipline, and affection. But I do it as a 3-stage process: in the house, on the lead, off the lead. I understand the idea of what you're saying about putting the dog in the crate, let them settle for 20 minutes and let them out and things. I don't mind that if the dog's behavioural issues are pretty much gone. I wouldn't use that to sort behavioural issues, because what many people call you for is they say, well, my dog out in the street goes crazy when you go past a dog in the street. And what you're trying to do is issue a limit on that dog and go, I need you to calm down right now. I don't want you to lunge at this dog in the street. But we've conditioned the dog in the house to calm down on their terms, at their time. So if you put a dog in a crate and like when they calm, they can come out, you're conditioning the dog for them to decide when to come out. So what I mean by that is it could take them 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours to calm down. Well, it's our job to issue that limit and say, calm down now. What people often do is they let the dog wait till it calms down and bring it out. It gets too excited to put it back on timeout. You're now turning this into a punishment, and you're using too much rational thought as well, and too much negative punishment rather than positive punishment. And they're conditioning the dog out in the street to be like, I need you to calm down now. And the dog's like, no, I calm down when I want to calm down. And they don't have a crate to put them out in the street, or a door to put them behind, or a baby gate to put them behind. So they live a life of avoidance and management. So I want them to really, I want them to learn place in the house, and that's the piano lessons, because somebody coming to the door is the concert. So the emphasis is, are they able to control everybody? Anyone who has an issue with their dog is on introductions. How it meets someone at the door, how it meets a dog in the street, etc. So that's when you know who's in charge, is who controls the introduction. But that's to start in the home. That's starting the home. I don't. I want as many tools in my toolbox, so I have the knowledge, but I don't give the client. I very rarely, to be honest, use a bonker. I find is far superior tools, and I never use a pet corrector. I never really use a figure of eight or a Halti. There is nothing wrong with any of these tools. It's just I more focus on tools that are easy for the. Again, it's to bridge the gap. Tools are there to bridge the gap for the clients, either the amount of time they have to train their dog or their own ability at that time, whether they're disabled or old or very young, or they are very nervous or anxious and not confident. Whatever the weakness is, the tool is there to bridge the gap. For example, prong collar, e-collar, using a slip leash, a leash in a house leash, a long line, crates, dog cots, place. Everything's a tool. So I generally emphasize doing the place training. They have to put the work in for that, because then when someone comes to the door, that is the challenge, and they have to already be good at place. So you have to be able to then emphasize the difference in get the attention, give a command, give affection. I don't really chuck in like, look, you could use a pet corrector here, you could use, because things like timing and technique and things like that are really important there. I would rather they just learned the best tools straight away and learned to use them the best way. So generally on leash, that would be, in general, would be a prong. Off leash should be remote collar. Um, so yeah, focus on stuff, controlling introductions. Um, and yeah, and then you have to tailor it. Every dog's their own recipe, isn't it? So you have to tailor it to, okay, really now, what is your dog's specific issue? Is it dominant? Is it nervous? Is it aggressive? Is it etc. etc. It's too excited? Um, so yeah, I emphasize place training. I teach them really how to control dog on the leash and off the leash. And I find out, right, what is it you want out of this dog, because you've probably got a dog that trusts you, but you don't trust because it doesn't respect you, and is trying to build that up. Does that make sense?
A little bit. With so it sounds like, being that you're not using the pet corrector and the bonker, you're probably using a lot of physical touch and spatial pressure. Then,
Yeah, I
yeah.
emphasize that. What I emphasize is our language is verbal, dog's language is touch. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we can look at energy, body language, scent, um, but the first thing that I have them focus on is touch. The way, very simply, generally, when people are feeling not in control of their dog, the first thing they should be asking themselves is, how am I touching my dog right now? That should be the first thing that comes into
Mm-hmm.
their mind. How am I touching my dog right now? Whether it's through leash or the certain steering wheel they've got on, or remote collar, or whatever. There's lots and lots of touches, but and then you also have to take the time in teaching the difference between affection touch or correction touch, interruption touch. So it's giving them some just dog education, knowing how to speak the dog language. And once they've got that foundation, you can then go, right, let's now create these distractions where you've got issues, and you deal with them all the same way. That's really what you do. You deal with them all the same way. But yeah, I emphasize on touch. Because people have no problem with touching their dog, and they use with affection, and they use too much touch when it comes to correction. So either they pick the dog up, they drag the dog over here, they hold the dog back. So they have to first learn that the way they're touching the dog is impacting the dog. And I don't do a lot of emphasis on negative punishment. So, removing the dog, putting them out in a crate. Blah, blah. You have to go on the client's skill level as well at that time, don't you? So when you go in and the dog's trying to eat you, and you either have to take the dog off them yourself on a slip leash, say, and just take control, or you have to go, "Look, just go and put it in a crate right now, and let's give you some knowledge, and then let's build from there." But yeah, you're absolutely right. I emphasize on touch. I emphasize on how their touch has an impact, because they never thought of that before. The people are happily touch their dog with affection, but as soon as you mention touch with correction, they're like, "No, no, I don't hit my dog. I don't abuse my dog. I don't." And it's like, no, we're not saying that. But there is a difference between abusing your dog and letting them know that they're going down the wrong path. There's a clear there's a clear there's a clear difference there. Does that make sense?
And so, let's say you show up to the lesson, because with the lesson